How's it going, everyone? David here, back again to review Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after its return, since it didn't get an episode last week due to, I'm assuming, some Thanksgiving type of specials where they were doing like a whole weekly Thanksgiving thing. They were showing some kind of movies or something like that, I don't know. All I know is that both S.H.I.E.L.D. and The Flash were completely omitted from network television last week. Me and my girlfriend were both respectively disappointed. Me with S.H.I.E.L.D. and her with The Flash, because she loves The Flash, and she was very sad that it was not being shown last week. But this week, it has finally returned, and this is how you come back, baby. I don't know why I sound like a used car salesman, but we get the return of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the episode entitled Closure. And so the episode opens up with another conversation between Rosalind and Coulson, in which they're enjoying dinner. They're enjoying those burgers that they were initially going to enjoy in that episode before Coulson kind of derailed the conversation, derailed the scene, so to speak. And now they're finally talking about what's going to be their next move after learning that big reveal from the last episode about Hydra still being behind it all, only in much more years in advance, and having other divisions such as the ATCU to be able to pull off their evil purposes. And so Rosalind's still reeling from the discovery that she was working under Hydra this entire time, and she's still kind of bitter about it. But she's trying to keep her cool now, knowing that she's going to be working with S.H.I.E.L.D. And oh my gosh, she gets shot in the neck! So Whedon strikes again, delivering a very completely off-guard kill in the first opening. This is the type of death you expect in like the ending of an episode, and you open up with it? Wow, I legitimately did not see that coming. Out loud I said, holy shit, Rosalind gets killed off. Just right there and then. And who better to kill her off and to send Coulson on a vendetta than Grant Ward himself. And so from that point on, pretty much the entire episode is set up for what is going to be essentially a two-part mid-season finale. I mean, I know that the mid-season finale is actually going to be next week, but this episode being the penultimate one for this first batch of episodes, just like The Walking Dead recently did, Walking Dead and Gotham recently did, this sets up what's going to be the big eventful mid-season finale next week. And this is how you set it up, because this one had enough going for it. Good planning, good setup, good reveals, that it just put the pieces on the board firmly, but in a very exciting way. It's not just like build up, like, oh, talking, and then the last few minutes it's like, okay, this is gonna be the plan. No, the everything that is meaningful and impactful starts from the very beginning, from Rosalind getting killed off herself, to Coulson showing a different side of him wanting to cross the line so much after being so furious that Rosalind, somebody that he has cared about after, he kind of, gave May the eye ever so often, but it was nothing ever serious. Like, he never thought that everything was going to happen between him and May, especially if Andrew's still going to be around. Now, however, with Rosalind, he felt something a little bit different. He felt like there was a yang to his yin, or vice versa. Now she's gone, and of course, who takes her out? It's Ward. And so this puts this feeling of resentment in him. Like, he even mentions later on in this episode that he didn't kill this guy earlier when he had the chance, and so emotions get the better of him and shows a new side to Coulson. A side that could be very dangerous and volatile, but at the same time it's very exciting to watch. Watching a by-the-book director like Coulson being gripped by emotions so strongly that he's willing to take large dives like he does at the end of this episode, to going off on a tirade, to throwing things. It was just very a huge thing to see Coulson act this way, and it really did anchor the episode. Well, I don't want to say anchor, because that makes it sound like it weighted down. That's not what I meant to say, but it was one of the big selling points that made this big setup episode much more meaningful than just the basic setup episode that felt too much like that. Like, oh, okay, they're just putting all the pieces in on the board, and then the actual play, the actual chess game, is going to be next week's episode. This felt more like that initial chess game. It felt like the actual pawns were being moved before the bigger pieces are going to actually unfold next week. And very, very similar to Coulson, it was also a big episode for Ward himself, who is practically the Hydra version of Coulson in this particular position, where he's being driven by emotion, but in a different context, so to speak. He wants to be more of a leader amongst Hydra ranks. He doesn't want to follow anybody, and he is also being driven to be given this sense of, like the episode's called, closure. Coulson wants Ward taken out of the picture for what he did to Roslin and what he has practically done to his team ever since then. Ward wants Coulson killed because he believes he feels S.H.I.E.L.D. is responsible for the death of Agent 33. By the way, some Winter Soldier references later on by Malik where he says Alexander Pierce. That was pretty cool. But Ward again becomes driven by emotion, especially when Coulson pulls off the unexpected move, or at least unexpected by Ward, of taking his brother and kind of making it seem like he was being put in jeopardy, and that is where you can easily tell gets to Ward. He was playing cool, all like that, and he was having some banter with Malik saying, hey, I don't want to be a follower, I want to be a leader. But it's the fact that Coulson has his brother that makes him kind of nervous. It's just a little strange that he kind of drops it afterwards, after hearing his brother. He's kind of like, okay, I gotta be prepared for S.H.I.E.L.D. But then Malik convinces him to go into the portal, and sure, that could make for something very interesting and very exciting to see in the mid-season finale, but I don't know, it seemed kind of weird. I think that would probably be my only little gripe with this episode, is that Ward deciding to go off into the portal instead of wanting to see it, to actually see the life come out of Coulson's eyes when he puts a bullet in him here on Earth, especially considering that he is still under the belief that he has his brother. It just doesn't click 100%. But still, Ward was very centric to this episode, and I'm glad. I'm glad that both Coulson and Ward are literally both going after the same thing with each other, and seeing them come to heads in the mid-season finale, especially after seeing Coulson actually take that dive, which is a little too accurate, but taking that dive through the portal that now Ward and Fitz find themselves in, and once again we find ourselves in that other planet once more. It's kind of interesting that we actually get to revisit that place. It's very, very interesting, and definitely cannot wait to see how that plays out. And speaking of returning elements, I like that they brought back the Magneto dude from the last episode. I thought that he was just going to be like a one-off thing and be defeated and that's it, but I'm glad that even after this episode, he still looks like he's going to be that secondary, like that mid-boss battle. You know how you got your levels, and then you got the mid-boss battle, and then you got the actual final boss, which is going to be probably Ward. You got the mid-boss battle, which is this guy. I can't remember his name. Unfortunately, I'm very bad with names, but he's an Inhuman, and I like the fact that they're bringing him back. Surely he's being put there so that he can give some hell over to Daisy, Mac, and the rest of the Secret Warriors, who we definitely see being put together in this episode, which was one of the more exciting scenes in the entire episode. Seeing Lincoln and Joey get up from the bench and being ready to take on this mission, I'm like, yes, it's finally happening. The Inhumans are being brought onto the field. All of them, or at least the ones that this episode and maybe this first half of the season could afford because of the visual effects. But at least it's very exciting to see that this team is going into the fire here, and seeing how they're going to fight off the people over at Hydra, and how Coulson, as well as maybe even Fitz and Will, are going to fight off Ward and his team that managed to go through the portal next week. If I had any other slight little nitpick, is that because this is a build-up episode that focused so much on Ward, Coulson, as well as Hunter and Bobby, who get taken by Coulson on this little off-the-book mission, as well as what Ward is doing with Malik and Fitz and Simmons trying to open up this portal again, it's come to be expected that some characters are going to be sidetracked a little bit, so it's a slight bummer to see that Mac is put on director detail, and actually no, that's actually pretty cool. The fact that Mac is being put into this position that he was not ready for, but he's slowly becoming part of it, and he's becoming more of a director, and he's making the right calls. That was pretty cool. But seeing people like Daisy and especially May being on the sidelines, at least for this build-up episode, was it was a slight disappointment, but it was an expected disappointment that couldn't be evaded. It's not like, oh, I wish they could have written that off. I mean, there's a reason for why they didn't focus on them so much in this episode. It's because in the mid-season finale, they're gonna have their share in the spotlight, as well as all the other characters, to build an explosive finale, and that's what I'm hoping for, and that's what I'm hoping to get, especially after Walking Dead's mid-season finale. Please don't, ABC, do not do that. Jed Whedon, Joss Whedon, Michelle, I can't pronounce her last name. I'm sorry, Marissa. Name's not Michelle, it's Marissa. You guys have been doing an amazing job with season 3. Don't botch it now. And I'm pretty confident you won't. I will admit it's kind of cheap that the ending stinger is Coulson being knocked out by a freaking rock. Even though he totally just went through that tiny sized portal from high above that was amazing, a little far-fetched, but amazing, and then he gets taken out by a rock. I think they should have chosen something different for that ending scene, but still, that does not keep me from being excited for the mid-season finale, and honestly, I feel like the credit for that should go to this build-up episode that did its job. I mean, I was going to be excited for the mid-season finale regardless, but this felt like a genuine part 1 to what's going to be part 2 in next week. It didn't feel like, oh, we're just going to have something at the end, like Walking Dead did, to keep you guessing for what's going to happen in that finale next week. No, this actually feels part of the mission. It feels like they took this gargantuan episode and split it up into 2 rather than to blow their load just all next week and then have like a filler episode this week. They did the sensible thing. This is how you do it. So, nevertheless, I give Closure a low 9 out of 10. Definitely an exciting episode that had so many great moments in it that made me, it made me giddy. I mean, having Coulson go up to Mac and be like, do the damn job, and then having him repeat the same thing to the Secret Warriors later on, as well as plenty of kick-ass moments and unexpected twists like Rosalind's death, made for a very exciting Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. So let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and what do you look forward to in the mid-season finale. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.